Now here's one second to the last thing. Let us say together, you got to be hungry. Hold it. Mr. White said, Mr. Brown, what do you want to do? Well, sir, I'd like to be a disc jockey. Mr. Brown, if you want to be a disc jockey, you got to be hungry. What do you mean by that, sir? You've got to be willing to do the things that others won't do in order to have the things tomorrow others won't have. He said you got to work on yourself, develop your mind. You don't get in life what you want, you get in life what you are. Always strive to get on top in life because it's the bottom that's overcrowded. You got to be hungry. I said, yes, sir, I'm hungry. I want to be a disc jockey, sir. He said, is that right? I said, yes, sir. He said, start listening to Paul Harvey. Start listening to people who are effective communicators. Be conscious of what you're saying and how you're saying it. Because how you express yourself, once you open your mouth, you tell the world who you are. See yourself as a radio disc jockey. Start working to get sponsorship. Start creating the radio format that you want. Start developing your personality. I said, wait a minute, sir. I said, I want to be a disc jockey. I don't have a job yet. And then he quoted Whitney Young. He said, it's better to be prepared for an opportunity and not have one than to have an opportunity and not be prepared. You got to be hungry. So I started working to develop myself and developing my communication skills. I expected to have a radio program, so I created my formats. I started learning how to write commercials and do jingles. And then I came to him one day. I said, okay, Mr. Washington. He said, okay, Mr. Brown, remember, you've got to be hungry. You don't have a college degree. You have no journalism. You have no broadcasting. This is a very crowded field. It's very, very competitive, Mr. Brown. You're going to face no and rejection every day. But if you're hungry enough, the world will make a place for you. So I went to apply for a job on Miami Beach to Milton Butterball Smith, the program director. Hello, Mr. Butterball. How are you, sir? My name is Les Brown, sir. I like to be a disc jockey. You have any journalism in your background? No, sir. You have any kind of broadcasting experience? No, sir, but I've been training myself, sir. Let me audition for you. Let me show you how good I am. He said, I'm sorry, we don't have any job for you. I was discouraged. I went back and I told Mr. Washington. I said, Mr. Washington, they said no. He said, don't take it personally. Most people are so negative, they have to say no 7 times before they say yes. He said, you got to be hungry. Go back again. I said, yes, sir. Hello, Mr. Butterball. How are you, sir? My name is Les Brown, sir. I like to be a disc jockey. Weren't you here yesterday? Yes, sir. Didn't I tell you no yesterday? Yes, sir. Then why are you back today? Well, sir, I didn't know whether or not somebody was laid off or somebody was fired, sir. No one was laid off. No one was fired. I came back the next day. Hello, Mr. Butterball. How are you, sir? My name is Les Brown, sir. I like to be a disc jockey. I know what your name is. Weren't you here the last 3 days? Yes, sir. Didn't I tell you no the last 3 days? Yes, sir. Then why are you back today? Well, sir, I didn't know whether or not someone got sick or someone died, sir. No one got sick. No one died. No one was laid off or fired. Now, don't you come back here again. I came back the next day talking loud, looking happy, like I was seeing you for the first time. Hello, Mr. Butterball, how are you? He looked at me with rage. He says, go get me some coffee. I said, yes, sir. Sometimes you have to stoop before you conquer. You got to sacrifice before you reign. So I became the errand boy for the disc jockeys. I'll go get their lunch and their dinner, and I'd stand in the control room, and I would not leave until they would ask me to. Then pretty soon, they trusted me to pick up entertainers that came to town. Entertainers like Diana Ross, and the Supremes, and the Four Tops, and Gladys Knight. I used to drive them all over Miami Beach in the disc jockeys' big, long Cadillacs. I didn't have any driver's license, but I was driving like I had some. Then one day, I was at the radio station, and a disc jockey by the name of Rockin' Roger was drinking while he was on the air. He was slurring his words. It was obvious he was so inebriated he couldn't complete his show. And there I was looking at him through the control room window, walking back and forth, young, ready, and hungry. I was saying, drink, rock, drink. Drink, rock. I'd have gone to get him some more if he'd asked me to. Then pretty soon the phone rang. It was the general manager, and I answered the phone. I said, hello? He said, young boy, this is Mr. Klein. I said, I know. He said, Rock can't finish his program. I said, I know. He said, would you call one of the other DJs in? I said, yes, sir. I hung the phone up. I said, now he must think I'm crazy. I called my mama and my girlfriend Cassandra. Said, y'all come out on the front porch and turn up the radio. I'm about to come on there. I waited for about 20 minutes and I called him back. I said, Mr. Klein, I can't find nobody. He said, young boy, do you know how to work the controls? I said, yes, sir. He said, go in there and segue the records and don't say nothing here. I said, yes, sir. I couldn't wait to get behind that turntable. I put on a fast record. I said, look out, this is me, LB, Triple P, Les Brown, your platter playing papa. There were none before me and there will be none after me. Therefore, that makes me the one and only. Young and single, love Domingo, certified, bona fide, indubitably qualified to bring you satisfaction and a whole lot of action. Look out, baby, I'm your love man. I was hungry. I was hungry. Shake somebody's hand on your right and left and say, you gotta be hungry. There are people who come to this country who can't speak the language and they hit the ground running because they're hungry. The people that are hungry are willing to do the things today others won't do in order to have the things tomorrow others won't have. The people that are hungry are willing to make it okay to fail. They're risk takers. The people that are hungry are willing to reinvent themselves, to develop themselves. They know you don't get in life what you want, you get in life what you are. The people that are hungry have goals and practical steps that they engage in day and day out.
You've got this book called You've Got to Be Hungry. Why did it take you so long to finally put this book out? And what should we know about it? I want everyone to get this book.
It's different than any other book that's been out there, because it's one thing if you are in a majority culture and you're part of the majority. I sent a letter to Gunther Ranker and they sponsored the infomercial for Tony Robbins, and they sent me back a letter saying, we acknowledge, we receive your requests for a partnership to do an infomercial, but you're black. And we don't believe that America is ready for a black speaker. So I sent them back a letter saying, thank you for reminding me that I'm black. I never would have known that if you hadn't told me. Of rejection, he got the complexion of connections. So I said, I'll see you from the top. But that was a good thing, because it brought something out of me that says, my destiny is not in your hands. I'm going to find a way to win. People that are manifesting their greatness, they find a way to win. They are, no matter what people, they're like a Walter P. Price Chrysler. Chrysler failed 49 times in the automobile industry. They find a way to win. I remember when Muhammad Ali was knocked down the first time by Joe Frazier, and Howard Cosell asked him, why did you jump up so quickly? And Muhammad Ali said, I looked around and saw where I was, and he said, a canvas is no place for a champion. He said, and I jumped back up. And so when you have living your life from a place of knowing that there is something in me that I strongly believe there's a dimension about us that very few people reach for. And I think that's the greatness, and that most people become discouraged when their athletic careers have been cut short and they felt that was the only slot for them in life, and they find someplace else that they will show up and say, I'm going to take a stand here. I'm going to make a difference in people's lives. I'm going to let people know that just because things stopped over here does not mean that you don't have something of value and power over here in this area here. And so you reinvented yourself. And so that life will give us all type of stuff to overcome. You take a person's eyesight, then you have a Ray Charles or a Stevie Wonder. So life will always challenge us. I have this quote I love that said, in life, you will always be faced with a series of God-ordained opportunities, brilliantly disguised as problems and challenges. And so I think that those of us that have been picked out to be picked on, that the greatness has been recognized in us, and that we, as a result of that, we release what Elizabeth Browning called the imprisoned splendor. We rise to the occasion when others fold, when others buckle and run with their tails between their legs. And it brings something out of you that would not give birth had it not been for that adversity.
Oh man, can you just keep talking for the next 5 hours? I can listen to you all day, my man. I appreciate it. I can listen to you all day, Les.
Thank you.
I want people to get this book, and I don't know if there's.
It will teach them how to overcome adversity. I've gone through so much. I'm gonna share this with you. I went through an experience with opiates. The challenging part for me was not going cold turkey to get off it, but my kids. I never forget. I was in the hospital for 9 days and I didn't know it, and I didn't even know how I got there. And so when my son, my second oldest son, Patrick, was driving me to my youngest daughter's house, and I saw these cars, I said, what are these cars doing here? He said, you sit and you get inside. So I came in and I saw Mike Williams, Mike, who's been my mentor for 51 years, and my other kids, and two people that I didn't recognize. And I said, okay, is this an intervention? He said, yes. I said, who is it for? He said, for you. Me, I'm the intervention king. No, Dad, you've been in the hospital for 9 days. 9 days? No. And then he said, yes, you're unconscious. Why? We don't know. We were just called and said, you're at University Hospital. And then I went to each one of them. I said, look at me. I taught you not to smoke, not to drink, not to do drugs. Do you think I would misrepresent you as your father and do something so stupid? He said, no, but there are two types of drug addicts, Dad. What are you talking about? There are people who pursue drugs and people who are prescribed drugs. You've been prescribed it and you just cooperated. It's just too many. We want you to live. We don't want you to die like Prince. We want you to live. Man, I went to each one of them. That was the most humiliating experience my whole life. And so my youngest daughter said, Daddy, you teachers, that you can't read the label when you're locked in the box. You need help. And she started crying. You taught us to get help, not because we're weak, but because we want to remain strong. And I want you to do this for us. So I said to this couple, I said, okay, I'm ready to go. They said, no, we'll come tomorrow morning. I said, no. I said, you're gonna have to take me tonight. You come here tomorrow morning, I will not be here. I've never been in any place that I couldn't leave when I want to. You need to do this tonight. So they drove me about 4 hours to Middletown, Ohio, to this drug program. And I stayed there 5 days. People doing double takes. Are you Barry White? No, you can't be Les Brown, the motivator. Yes, I am Les Brown. I know that voice. You gotta be. I've been listening to you for a long time. What are you doing here? My children say that I'm hooked on drugs. So after those double takes for 5 days, I went into the director. I said, listen to me. There are two types of people, drug addicts. There are ones who prescribe drugs, and there are ones who go seeking drugs I said, I was prescribed these drugs for pain, for the sciatica pain and pain for cancer. That's eating 40% of my T1 vertebrae in my spine. And this guy said, every junkie's got a story. Man, I grabbed the phone on his desk. I was about to bust him in the head. And this lady who is his administrative assistant, she said, Mr. Brown, please. I've been listening to you since I was a little girl. And she's crying. She said, trouble is easy to get into and hard to get out of. Please don't hit this man with this telephone.
Wow.
He called me a junkie. I called my son and said, you better come get me or I'm walking away from here. It was like 12 degrees outside, right? I'm 4 hours from Columbus. And he came, and I was leaving. The director said, he'll be back. I said, I will not. And I went cold turkey. They rushed me to the Cleveland Clinic about 6 different times. And I heard them say on the other side of the curtain, said, you know, if he's in his 30s, he can do it, not in his 60s. And that night, I prayed to Mamie Brown, my adopted mother, and my birth mother. I said, I don't know your name. You gave birth to me. But I need the two of you to get together and help me have the strength to get through this. They want to give me a drug called Suboxone, and it's addictive. First time, shame on them. They prescribed these drugs to me, and I'm addicted. Now they're going to give me a drug that's addictive, and they say it's harder to get off, but at least I just be on one addictive drug. I said, I can't knowingly take something that's addictive. The other ones I didn't know, but this I cannot make myself do it. Man, I passed out. I had these dry heaves. I was taken there 6 different times, unconscious. The night I prayed to both my mothers, I said, I need your help. Please help me, because I'm not going to do this. And then the next morning, Louis, I had no gagging, no dry heaves. The next morning, when I got up, I had an appetite. The next morning, no cold chills and hot flashes. The next morning, I got my strength back, and I knew I was on the other side of it. And I said to them, both of them, thank you so much. Thank you for getting me through this experience. Y'all can rest now, because I ain't gonna be I won't even take an aspirin. When they prescribe something for me in Cancer Centers of America, I ask them, what's in this? Is it addictive? Do you have non-addictive pain medication? We do. Why didn't you prescribe that to me? You really want to know? Yes, I do. The addictive ones are more expensive.
Wow.
Pills pay the bills, Mr. Brown. Pills pay the bills. I'm sorry. I said, I am too, and I'm so glad that I'm not the young man that I used to be, because I'd have pulled this office up with you. Let me tell you
I hit
something.
you over the head, yeah.
About to make me lose my mind. Up in here, about to make me act a fool up in here. Oh my God. But you know,
man.
it's all good. Had I not been fired from radio, we would not be having this conversation. Had I not gone through that experience, there are people, and why I wrote her in the book, I said we have 3 lives. We have a public life, we have a private life, and we have a secret life. And I said, I'm going to share something I've never shared before. And I said, if it helps one person to know that it's possible that they can get off those drugs, then it's worth it to me to risk my credibility and my reputation and share that with them. Because they're going to say, if Les Brown can do it, I can do it. At 75, he's a tough cookie in their life.
You are, man. I appreciate you, Les. I miss you, man. I hope to get to hug you soon.
Yes.
I appreciate your energy, your presence, your storytelling as always. I really acknowledge you for the incredible gift you are. I know both your mothers would be incredibly proud of you for how you continue to show up, how you face adversity and inspire people like myself and anyone that turns on your voice and reads your words and is a witness to your example. You're an incredible gift to this world, Les. I appreciate you.
And I want to begin to talk about this amazing book with a quote, direct quote from your book. You said, Dr. Miles Monroe, the great preacher and orator, said, the wealthiest place on the planet is not in the Far East, where there is oil in the ground. It's not in South Africa, where there are diamond mines. The wealthiest place on the planet is the cemetery, for there you will find leaders who have never stepped up, innovators or innovations the world has never been exposed to, talents and potential never realized. I am reminded of another man who said, oh God, to reach the point of death only to realize you have never lived, only to realize that you never scraped the surface of your potential. I remember reading about a woman who had just left the doctor's office after having been told she had terminal cancer. She made herself a cup of coffee when she returned home, and as she sipped it, she suddenly filled with anger, with rage, and hurled the cup against the wall. It shattered it in many pieces, and as she threw it, she screamed out, I refuse to die an unlived life. And then ending that section, you said this, the only way that you can break through the atmosphere and reach higher altitudes is by being hungry. Hunger is the most crucial element of creating your greatest life. I love this book because I thought that was a great way of capturing our attention. Why this subject of hunger and using that as an analogy or a metaphor? Why did you choose to use hunger as a metaphor for desire?
If you are casual about your dream, you will end up a casualty with your dreams. That most people unconsciously die long before they're buried because they don't realize that they have been marginalized, that they live in a culture where they're told more about what they cannot do rather than what they can do. We've been programmed to think in terms of being one-dimensional, of being an employee, of going to college, graduating, getting a job, working for 40 years, expecting to retire on 40%, which wasn't enough in the first place. The 40-40 plan is gone. It's been interrupted. And so, but most people are not aware of that. The great anthropologist, Margaret Mead, was in London, and she was having dinner. So one of the waiters said, you know, there's several Americans here tonight. And so she said to her guests, let me show you something. She said, let me know when you serve them dessert, and I'll tell you exactly how many are here. He said, you couldn't possibly. She said, just let me know when you serve them dessert. And so when he left, he came back, he said, okay, I've served them dessert. She got up and she walked around and she said, there are 35 Americans in this restaurant. He looked at the roster, he was shocked. He said, how did you know that? She said, in the UK, when you eat a slice of pie or cake, you eat it from the crust toward the tip. In America, when we eat a slice of pie or cake, we eat it from the tip toward the crust. How do you eat a slice of pie?
I eat a slice of pie from the crust to the tip.
Yeah, now, so you're an exception because you came up in a British culture.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So, but the average American will eat a slice of pie from the tip toward the crust. Mm-hmm. Well, no one told us to do that. We just picked it up. Mm-hmm. For instance, before 1980, you walk around, you would not see people with tattoos. The majority of people that you see today have tattoos. Where'd that come from? How could that happen? What created that? There was no advertising on television saying, go out and get a tattoo. Well, in America, we incarcerate more people than any place else in the world. And in prison, you're not allowed to draw on the walls. You're not allowed to use your artistic skills on the walls of the prison. There's a penalty. You'll be penalized. You'll be put in the hole in solitary confinement. So they're bored. They have nothing else to do. And so they write on each other's bodies. They write tattoos. So now, when you see people today, all on television and commercials, you see tattoos everywhere. Nobody told them to go out and get it, but being in the culture, there's some things that you pick up. And so picking up a limited vision of yourself is natural when you're in a culture that does not recognize your greatness, that does not recognize your humanity, and create a culture that is designed to destroy your sense of self. And so in order to break out of that, to realize that you are made in the likeness and image of God, to realize that you've been given authority and dominion over everything on the face of the earth, that it takes everything in you. People that are hungry are unstoppable. People that are hungry are relentless. People that are hungry will find a way to win. People that are hungry will not take no for an answer. People that are hungry won't give up. They will persist until they succeed. That's what's required to make it today.
How would you respond when someone's back is up against the wall, they're facing failure time and time again? Let me just share a little quick story. Years ago, I worked with Tony Robbins. In 1999, I was working with Tony Robbins. I thought, model one of the best. It was either you, Stephen Covey, or it was Tony Robbins. And at the time, Mike, I had a little connection into Tony Robbins. So I went with Tony Robbins.
Yes.
And I got so pumped after a year of working there, I gave over 240 presentations. What a great training opportunity as I traveled the country and just was able to present so many times. And finally, he said on stage, talking about living your dreams, he said, "When would now be a good time?" He told the 5,000 people audience. And I remember I nudged my wife and I said, that's my calling, man. I'm making an excuse for myself. It's time for me to go live my dream. Anyway, long story short, I left the Tony Robbins organization. I called my parents. I said, "Mom, Dad, can we and the kids stay at your home for just a couple months as I do my first seminar?" Our home was actually rented out at the time because we were traveling so much, so I couldn't go there. And Mom and Dad said, absolutely. Well, those 2 months turned into 5 years in the basement of their house. And I thought, oh my gosh. And in my darkest moment, my wife says, "You should go get a job." I said, "But I hear Les Brown in me, right? My calling is to do this. There's gotta be a way. I can't just give up on the 10-yard line or whatever." And she said, "Well, what are you gonna do?" And I said, "Honey, I'm gonna go write a book." And she said, "You're gonna do what? Have you even read a book?" Anyway, I said, "I'm gonna go write a book." And we had a car repossessed, so we ended up with one card. And I decided I can't write where the kids are, so I drove down to the grocery store parking lot and I started to type. And 2 months later, If You Think You Can was written, and I'm telling you, it was published about 3 months later. And from then, my world in 2005 turned overnight. That book became an international bestseller back in 2005, and we just came out with the 15th version. It's coming out next week, and so it's just unbelievable. As I have always told audiences, believe in yourself, believe in your dreams, figure out the right strategy, but never give up. I don't know, how do you counsel people to respond to those kinds of challenges without giving up?
Well, first of all, we always have a choice. There's something in us, TJ, as you know, that's greater than anything that we face, even though we have no evidence to point to prove it. Like as I'm speaking to you now,
That's right.
I had to prepare myself mentally because I'm in pain as I speak to you. Cancer has eaten 40% of my T1 vertebrae and metastasized to the T2 to T3 and to the C7. And I just spoke to an audience this morning, and I said, a doctor looked at me and he said 3 words that no one ever wants to hear. He said, "You have cancer." And the audience got quiet. And I said, "Sir, can you give me a second opinion?" He said, "Yes, and you're ugly too."
That's good.
I said, "No, he didn't." I said, "I got issues. I got issues." Well, here's the thing. Life is a fight for territory. And once you stop fighting for what you want, what you don't want will automatically take over. So I could have said, and even now I could say, this pain is just too great. But my affirmation to myself, whenever I'm going through a tough time, and I'm a 27-year cancer conqueror, no matter how bad it is or how bad it gets, I'm going to make it. And I think that people who make it through the storms of life, and we're always going to have storms. Forrest Gump said life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. My book of life says that think it not strange that you will face the fiery furnaces of this world. You will, not you might, you will have tribulations. It's called life. And so what's key is to visualize and see yourself on the other side. And hold that vision. He said, I'll give you all your eyes can see. Hold that vision and say to yourself, wow, that came out great. I made it through. I learned some things. Every day for 27 years, I've been saying, I thank God I'm cancer free. And people say, wait a minute, you've been saying that for 27 years. I mean, obviously it's not going to happen. I said, no, that's not true. Number one, I'm still here. Augmentino say, persist until you succeed. Well, just think, 27 years. Look, when will a baby walk? It will walk when it walks. When will it talk? It will talk when it talks, and some talk sooner than others. And so many times we give up out of frustration and lack of patience. And to me, the people that make it through have a series of perseverance, persistence, and patience. And they show up with that every day until they get the desired results that they want. I know, I don't believe, I know that I'm going to be free of cancer, that this is not unto death. There's something that I have to align myself with because cancer cells gone crazy. And so as I'm working on myself and working on the goals and dreams and other areas of my life that I have not resolved yet, that I'm just persistent and I'll keep coming back again and again and again. And as I told my children, even a broke clock is right twice a day. That's time our brother's going to break through.
That is so awesome. Despite the cancer challenge, if you call it a challenge or not, you're still out.
Because you get to know things about yourself that you don't know.
Yeah, right.
That it introduces you to a part of yourself that you're not familiar with, that it helps you to begin to prioritize things and determine what's important, what's not important. There are things that I would get angry about that I just let pass. For instance, I was coming down the sidewalk yesterday when I arrived here in New Jersey, in Philadelphia, and a guy had his luggage on the sidewalk, and he saw me coming. All he had to do was just pull his luggage back so that I can come by. He refused to move it. He's standing there with his wife. And so, which meant that I had to move my luggage and carry it into the streets and then get back on the sidewalk. And so he said, good, I'm glad you did that. And I said, thank you. And I got into the car that was waiting for me, and I said to my friend, I said, you know what? There was a time that I'd have whooped his ass. I wanted to look at him at one time. I said, you about to make me lose my mind. Up in here, up in here. I took my stuff on the sidewalk, and that wasn't enough. You wanted to taunt me. You wanted to tease me. You want to act like you punked me out. And I said, but at 74, no, because every emotion, I mean, I laugh a lot. Why? 1 minute of laughter boosts your immune system for over 24 hours. Think about that. 1 minute of laughter boosts your immune system for over 24 hours. So people who are watching us now, after we get through, they will get sick for 20 years. Now, 1 minute of anger weakens your immune system for 4 to 5 hours.
Yeah.
So I deliberately don't get angry. I choose not. Anger is a wind that blows out the lamp of the mind. I study psychoneuroimmunology. I know that the thoughts that we have, they create gene expressions. I know it creates a certain type of chemistry in our body that's toxic. And so I can't afford, as a cancer conqueror, to get angry. I choose not to go there. And we always have a choice. And I believe that the type of program that you have, it gives people the mental and emotional and psychological and spiritual muscle to have a clarity of mind to stand back and say, you know what? I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to let this get to me. I'm better than this, and rise above it and move on with their lives.
Wow, that's powerful. Thank you for sharing all that. You said, you put a little nugget in there I like, which I want to draw attention to, which you just said some people give up on their goals because they lack patience. And that made me think of the law of the harvest, which has 3 laws, right? You reap what you sow.
Yes.
Increased returns. You get more than you sow, right?
Right.
And then the third thing is delayed gratifications. And so sometimes we give up on our goals because we haven't given time for those seeds to nourish and bear fruit, right? We give up a little bit too early. And anyway, any thoughts on that?
Yes, well, there are some things that you're pursuing. I see that we grow from people and from projects. I'll be a better person at the end of this program because of our communication. We grow from people and projects. And so when we have projects, they challenge us. Why? Because we always, if we want to grow and we're serious, choose projects that's beyond our comfort zone. Because in order to do something you've never done, you've got to become someone you've never been.
That's good.
And so there are experiences that you're going to have in the process. Some things will happen to you, and some things will happen for you. And so I believe that those things that happen for us that sometimes we're aware of, but most of the time we're not. That's what psychologists call your scotomas, your blind spots.
Right.
That a lady, she's an intuitive, and she wrote me a note when she found out that I was a 27-year cancer conqueror, and she says, "This is not unto death to you." She said, "Search your heart and find out what's there." Because, and she was one of the people that gave me a book years ago that I read called Who's the Matter with Me? And what I realized, TJ, and this is the first time I ever talked about this publicly, that somewhere in me that I had not consciously recognized that I had anger at my birth mother and father. How can you bring someone in this world who didn't choose to be here and walk away? And even though we are told, forgetting those things which are behind, reaching forth unto those things which are before, I woke up in the middle of the night, and sometimes you can get a message from a movie.
Right.
And a movie with Tom Cruise, it's called Magnolia. And I never saw the whole movie, but there was a quote that woke me up around 3:15, I never forget. And the quote was, "We might be through with our past, but our past is not through with us." And so I have unresolved stuff in me because for a period of time, I saw myself as have been given away. But there's been a shift in my consciousness. Now I look at my life and I realize I was chosen with love, that God took me out of my biological mother's womb and placed me in the heart of my adopted mother. And that's why I know, now that I've come to grips with, now that I had to get some help, but I believe ask for help, not because you're weak, but because you want to remain strong.
Yes.
And ask for help and don't stop until you get it. And I said, "You said this is not unto death for me. Search my heart." And I said, "Can you help me go there?" And she did, because sometimes somebody can take you to a place within yourself that you can't go by yourself.
And in that session, I realized the anger and the hatred that I had for two people that I don't even have faces for. I've never seen my birth mother or birth father. And so I had to resolve that. I had to forgive myself first and then forgive them. And that's when the healing takes place, because cancer, a cell's gone crazy. Yeah. And so now, as I move to a place of love, God is love, and he who dwelleth in love dwelleth in God, and God in them. As I move to a place of love for them, that now I'm in harmony and in integrity with who I am as a person, and I have forgiven myself, I've forgiven them, and I'm living this mission of making the world a better place than how I found it, of being a source of light and hope and inspiration for people.
And you're doing an awesome job. There is no long-term benefit for being a grudge holder, holding resentment toward people. I always tell people say, well, do things bug you? Well, things bug me, but listen, yeah. I don't live there. And I always tell people, I let things roll off my back. You can criticize me all day long, and you know what? I'm not going to internalize that, right?
Yes.
Because I know who I am, and I'm thankful for who I am. Anyway.
Yes. And that is real, because the stuff we take on is that hating someone is like drinking poison and say, okay, now you're going to die. No, it's not going to happen like that. Yes, no. We all need coaching on how to let some things go. One of the things that I teach is let go or be dragged. That there are certain things that you know that you need to let go of. Otherwise, it's going to compromise your power and it's going to drag you down. And it takes time to do that.
It does. It does. So in your book, I remember this story.
Yes.
Such a great book. Anyway, you walked in, I think it was to a junior high or an elementary school, and you said, there's greatness in this room. If you're here, would you please stand?
Yes.
And you had to say it over and over. And then
yes.
one young person, didn't they stand up and they said, here I am.
Yeah, here I am. And that young man, I'm working with him today.
Oh, you're kidding.
No, he's been with me since that time. He is an attorney, and he also worked with youth. We go to prisons and juvenile detention centers together. Yes, and he's truly manifesting his greatness. And I'm proud to say I'm one of his mentees, because it's a seesaw relationship. At first, I started out being his mentor, but he has incredible skills with the millennials and with technology that I don't have. Oh. And so he's teaching me how to connect with them and how to use technology to further the work that I have, that I'm doing, and to create non-performance income. So this thing called life, I believe that you're never too old to learn, and you're never too young to teach. And he's teaching me, and I'm proud of it.
That's awesome.
I believe that life is for living, for loving, and being healthy, and living a meaningful life, a purposeful life. Why purposeful? Well, because it narrows your choices. I spent time talking to my son last night. I said, I don't have a void in my life because I don't know who my father was that I'm aware of. I'm adopted, okay? But what I was saying to him, I said, the conversation that I'm going to have with you right now is a conversation if I knew my father that he would have with me. And right now, I'm feeling that. I'm going to talk to you and share some things with you that I've seen, that I've experienced. And ultimately, it's your call. It's your choice. But I've seen a thing or two. I know a thing or two. I can't make the choices for you. All I can share with you to minimize the pain and disappointment and just living a life that's not you, that does not represent the highest that's within you. I'm going to talk to you now about some things that I'm encouraging you to do so that your future you, your future life that's in you will say, man, I'm glad you did that. Wow. I'm glad you made that choice. I said, are you with me? He said, yes, sir, Dad. I said, don't you have anything to say? Well, he said, well, I'm not going to argue for my limitations. All right, because I was telling him about something. I said, you don't want to do that. That's not going to help you. Make choices and ask yourself the question, is this going to bring the best out of me? Is this moving my life in the direction that represents the highest that is within me? Or is this going to take me down a path at some point in time I will regret that I made this choice? Robert Frost, come forth, please. Two roads diverge in a yellow wood, and I selected the road less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. The road to life is straight and narrow, and few there be that find it, because few there be that are willing to be disciplined. Few there be that are willing to listen. Few there be that are coachable. Few there be that are willing to leverage the experiences of other people so they can maximize their impact in this thing called life. You can't tell them anything. There's nothing worse than arrogance and ignorance. People who think they know and they don't know. If you're not one of those people and you're ready to be coached, or you're ready for breakthrough thinking, as Dr. Stan would say, Dr. Breakthrough. Yeah. Hello, I got it like that. As Reverend Ike would say, you can't lose with the stuff I use. Oh, behave. Why are you laughing? You got to laugh today. You got to find ways and create special moments. I'm creating a moment that we spend together. You're going to be saying to some of your friends, you know what? I watched that crazy boy Les Brown, Mamie Brown's baby boy. He had me rolling, child. He needs some help. He's a little touch of the head, really. He cut his flat top off too. Yeah, he used to be looking like Kid and Play from House Party. Yeah, he cut the flat top off. Somebody got to him. No, he did not. Not. I just did it because it's a new year. I'm gonna get it done in 21. There's some things I'm determined to do, determined to accomplish. What is it that you're determined to do? That you are determined to accomplish, that you've been going at it again and again and again, and you fail, and now you're ready to quit, or you've already quit. I'm saying to you, come, Lazarus, come forth. Had to call him 3 times. Come on, you got the power to come out of there. Lazarus, didn't you hear me? You know something. People watch and say, you know, I think Jerusalem Slim has lost it. He called him, we told him the man's dead. Yeah, there are a lot of people walking around with a lot of potential in them that's dead. Greatness in them, that's dead. Genius in them, that's dead. Abilities and talents that need to be resurrected, that's dead. Greatness and abilities to change the world that need to be called forth 3 times. Lazarus, come forth. Whoa, wow. He said, brothers and sisters start running from everywhere. Oh, my Lord, good Lord. That's a good google-moogle. They said, he's on fire. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Wow. The distance that I have traveled so far is longer than the distance I have left. Is that the same for you? We don't know how much time we have left. If that's the same for you, have you had some setbacks and failures and you have convinced yourself it can't be done? No. Change your approach, but don't change your decision. Get some help. Because by changing your approach and getting some help, you can take your performance and your impact to another level. By getting the right help and the right coaching, you can live a life that will outlive you. Oh, you have greatness in you. Yes, absolutely you do. It's not judged by how much money you have or your materialistic possessions. It's not judged by that. No. I've never seen an ambulance or hearse at a funeral carrying some money behind it, or furniture, or home, dragging all that stuff out to the cemetery. No. They don't bury you with homes, with your brand new car, your Rolex watch. No, you're gonna leave it all there. When Howard Hughes, who was the richest man in the world, died, somebody asked on the plane, how much did he leave? And the answer was, all of it. Guess what? Vi Clark, my friend who passed, she said, life don't owe me any change. I've lived life my way. Live your life in such a way that life don't owe you any change. Or you got a goal, a dream. Just say, I got this dream that keeps showing up and it's up in my face, something that I want to do with my life. Okay, all right. I got you. I know that. I had this goal and dream of buying my mother a home, and I did it. I'm working with somebody right now who they have the same dream. I said, good. I'm going to show you how to do that. They came to me, and we have a form that people fill out where we vet and find out, what is it you want to do? What's your goal? What's your dream? You are hungry to win. If you're hungry to overcome your fears, if you're hungry to learn how to use your voice, if you're hungry to live a larger life, if you're hungry to live a life of adventure, Helen Keller said that life is either a daring adventure or it's boring. If you're hungry to transition out of a job that's not you and want to learn how to do something that is you, if you are in that kind of place and you know that you just feel it in your heart of hearts, the best is yet to come. The best in me is yet to come. What I've gone through will not define me. The best is yet to come. Greater is he that's in me than he that's in the world. The best is yet to come. You are more than a conqueror. The best is yet to come. Be with that. Know that. And live your life from that place of power.